Hey guys, Comet here. Welcome back to Alchemy Factory. In the last episode, I restructured my entire factory, so now I'm taking advantage of the space above the road here. I combined the shop tower, the back manufacturing tower, and the side manufacturing tower into one giant megastructure. But in this video, I'll start populating this megastructure with the first factory. Now, I'm already making growth potions. I didn't have to touch that build. The other component I need on all of the floors is going to be fuel. Now, I've been using coke powder for a while, and it's okay. It's just on the floor up here, the Mars build. This actually takes a lot of fuel. So I have 3 separate things making coke powder for it, and even that isn't keeping up. So I want to switch over to a different fuel type, something that's a little bit better than coke powder, and that is black powder. I was originally planning on staying away from black powder because the only way to make it is via sulfur, and sulfur has the annoying byproduct of iron, but I have an idea of how to sink that iron and just get rid of it. Not trashing it, because again, we do not throw things away here. This will be calibrated all to 1 belt of black powder. I'll go ahead and throw up on screen right now the plan I'll be following, just so you can get a general overview of what I'll be doing. I think I'll start with all of the table saws, making the wood to be turned into charcoal powder. Gonna need 48 crucibles to cook all of that. So if I do something symmetrical with the furnaces here, I can fit 12 crucibles on 1 level, being fed by 1 belt. I need a total of 6 belts of wood, which turns into 6 belts of charcoal, across 48 crucibles. This is actually a few too many here. So if I remove those, that would give me 1 full belt of wood down the center, and then I can combine the 2 sides together for a final output. Now I have 2 options here when it comes to the grinders. I can just put a basic grinder at the end of all of these, or I could use a belt to join them up with an enhanced grinder here at the end. Then I'd need half as many. Ooh, that actually I think works really well, because everything will all fit on top of that furnace there. Yeah, I like that. Because now I can stack this whole thing on top of itself 6 times, and that's all 6 belts of the charcoal powder output. Now I just gotta get wood into all 6 of these inputs here. So up on some boxes, I can put some table saws. Now 4 table saws would be enough to saturate 1 belt. And then I could go up to the next height and put in some more table saws. Problem is that this lines up with that belt there, so I would need some table saws on boxes out over here, offset by 1 block and then by another block to hit those 2. So here on these boxes, I'll put down some blocks and put the table saws on top of the blocks. If I do that one more time, take this there really quickly. I'll get in another set of blocks, and then put this on top of it. Now that should be all 3 belts of wood there. And then when I stack everything here, table saws above should scale along with the boxes. Okay, so something like this will work. All 6 belts of wood go in there, get converted to charcoal here, get converted to powder out here at the end, and then rejoined here in the middle. Then to get all of the ingredients in, fuel can go in there, down the center to reach the furnaces. And then here on the end, I could put wood here. I could reach all of these table saws. Drop down, reach those, drop down, and reach those. To get it up to the next height, I'll just put a little extension here at the end. Can go in there and up here. And then run backwards to hit that level and that level. Now I can just stick a purchasing portal here and here. And all of the inputs are lined up on this side, and all of the outputs are lined up on this side. Now for the more interesting part, the smelters. These need to go directly on top of furnaces. So same idea here. I'll have a center fuel line. Now these can share an input, but they can't share an output. So I think I'm gonna have to do this. Have them output on the outside. Oh wait, no, actually it makes 2 different... Right, I'm gonna need a filter here. To filter the output. So that I could have sulfur on one height and then iron on the other height. Now the sulfur could combine together, but the iron can't. This is gonna produce too much iron for a single belt. Gonna need a total of 24 of these, so I'll stack this. If I had some more stone, be right back. So at 12 long, that is all 24 smelters. For inputs, I think I'm just gonna run some scaffolding across the top of these splitters here. So that could be the input for pyrite. So all of the sulfur can come out of the bottom, around to the center here, on both sides. And I'm gonna need 3 grinders. The way to do this symmetrically is 1 in the center. Oh. 1 in the center and 2 on the flanks. And then that will go into there, and that will go into there. So that should evenly distribute all of those outputs. Get ground up into sulfur powder. And then that is one of the final outputs. That'll be combined with those 6 outputs there. The last output, or the last piece of this puzzle, is lime water. And that is made with quicklime powder in an extractor. And all of my extractors are going to be swapped over to thermal extractors, up on the top floor here, this is where I'm going to put all of my extractors. Now to get the maximum value out of them, they need to be 255 blocks tall, so that is these little blocks. And each wall is 16 of these little blocks. And since each one of my floors is 2 blocks tall, that's 32, or 2 walls tall, that's 32 blocks. And 32 times 8 is 256. A slight problem, though, is that it counts these walls here. Now, I do have an extra floor beneath me, but it won't actually work until floor 9. So up here, this will be 9. This is where I'm putting all of the extractors. But I haven't even unlocked them yet. I'm building something I can't make yet. So I need to go unlock black powder and the thermal extractor. Head over to my treasury here. Grab some cash. Let's buy that. And that. I'll get the advanced assembler in the next episode and work on pocket watches. And then I think maybe after that, get into the unstable catalyst. People are starting to request these in the mailbox and the shop. And so my reputation, see, is only at 98. Alright, thermal extractor unlocked. What does it take to make these things? Just steel and glass. Okay. Grab some steel. Grab some glass. Run all the way back up to the top. So these guys, they're not very big at all. I could fit... Let's see, it wants me to use 5 of them. On a single furnace, I could fit 6 of these. Oh, achievement. Oh, I got an achievement for building the thermal extractor at the maximum height, so I think I'm good. I did the math correctly. If I did want to double this in the future, though, how would this scale? Right, because pipes have infinite throughput, I can always just keep adding on to the existing build. So if I want this to scale in that direction, then this would overconsume a single belt. So let's say in the future I was to put more of these. So in this direction, they tile every 5. If I were to join up all of their outputs... Right, this is way overkill just for the black powder, but I want to have a standardized design that I can use for all of the extractors, regardless of what they're making. I think I'm going to put 1 more block between all of them. That way they tile with the boxes. I could put grinders on this side to feed this half. Have nothing down the center. And then same thing on the other side. To feed that half. And then just to quickly check some ratios here. Throw in some stone. And throw in some fuel. So... Oh, that's not it. That's not... Nope, nope, nope. Alright, let's try that again. Through a crucible first. So 1 crucible makes 6.7 quicklime. That can be ground up at 13.3 a minute. Okay, so it's 2 crucibles per grinder, per enhanced grinder. And then the extractors take 20 a minute. So 20 a minute times 6, that's a full 120. That'll fit on 1 belt. So then 120 divided by 13.3, that is 9 grinders. And I said it was 2 crucibles per grinder, so that's 18 crucibles. Okay, I think I have something I like. Now, this whole thing here can tile with the extractors. So as I need more lime water, I can just add more and more of these modules. And everything would scale in that direction. So let's move this with the pipes. Can't forget the pipes. So right about here, I can just keep expanding it through this space right through here. Then I can have another section for linseed, and then maybe another section for the red wine, the red currant, and so on for all the different item types. The only thing this is missing now are all of the crushers, and it is 2 crushers per belt. I think something like this will work just fine. I don't need that top layer of scaffolding, though. So these bottom ones will go into there, and up. These middle ones can just come straight across. And then these top ones can come down into here. So fuel will plug in there. Limestone will plug in there. And I should end up with lime water out of this piping here. And once I put a roof on this thing, I'll know exactly where the piping will be. But for now, I'm just going to drag it over to about here should be fine. And it'll plug in to one of these slots here. Alright, so I've got my first littlest bit of lime water here. I just hand-fed the extractors with fuel for now, because I need black powder to fuel the extractors to make the black powder. I'm going to move these a little closer together and off to the side. So I think maybe against this back wall here. I could have the charcoal powder here. I'll move the sulfur. To be right here. Money can go in there. And there. Here and here. Now I need a total of 12 blenders to condense all of these outputs into black powder. Let's see, so it takes 2 solid inputs and 1 liquid input. So it'll end up being exactly the same as this that I'm using for the growth potions. I think the easiest way of keeping everything nice and neat is to just extend this out as a bus So all of the charcoal powder will just flow along this way. And then every 2 can have their own height. And then the next one needs the next height, or the next 2 goes to the next height. And then the next 2 go to the height above that. And then this output, the sulfur, that can go just along the bottom here into all of these, and I only need 1 belt across all 12. Then the fluid, that'll run across the ceiling, so right here. All the way back. Oh, I blocked the output. Whoops. So just a quick bend like that. That gets the lime water into here. And all of this black powder can actually go backwards to fuel itself. And then the excess can go up to higher floors. So you can start purchasing logs. You can start purchasing pyrite. And now I can explain my grand plan for the iron output. That still has to be dealt with. I'm going to combine it with soap, turn it into copper, and just have the coins go back into the money mix. Because coins can always be sunk back into the treasury. So 1.5 belts of iron needs to be combined with 1.5 belts of soap. And soap is made in the blender. This is going to take linseed oil, so I can use the top floor for extractors again. And 1.5 belts of soap at 20 a minute would be... that is 60, double that, it's 120, and then 180. There we go. Each of these is going to need 60 a minute of plant ash, which is 3 crucibles doing sage. And I think this is the best way to do soap here. So it's 3 crucibles per blender. And to maintain access to the top input pipe there, if I stagger them, then nothing should ever conflict. I can go out 1, and then down, and then out 1, and down. And this pattern would actually work for all 9 of these blenders. And then to unawkwardify the output, I'm just going to use some elevators. Alright, and that's a really nice soap triangle. So half of those outputs connect in with that belt, and the other half goes with that belt. And all of that then needs to go into some athanors on top of some furnaces, doing the copper powder recipe. And I don't want to deal with any of the impure copper powder. That is going to be ground up and refined in a refiner and turned into pure copper powder. And then the pure copper powder needs to be smelted in some crucibles be turned into ingots, and then the ingots run through a processor to be turned into coins directly. So something like this would function pretty well. The refiner takes 2 impure copper powder to make 1 pure copper powder. So by combining the outputs of 2 athanors, the 2 impures go into the 1 refiner. Then I have a full output of pure, full output of pure, and then the 2 impures combine together to make another full output of pure. This is 1 full belt of iron sand and soap. I've got 1.5, so I need to copy this whole thing, double it, and this will completely consume all of the iron and soap, sink it both into copper coins, and then the copper coins can go on their way back to the treasury. And that guarantees that the iron... Oh, go away. That guarantees that the iron can never plug up, so that sulfur keeps going into the black powder. So this bank portal here will convert all of the copper into gold. Same with this one. And then that can just be run back out to the treasury. I do need to turn my attention back to soap and figure out how to get all of the sage into these crucibles here. So 1 nursery can produce 120. Each crucible here takes 20. So 1 nursery can feed 2 of these stacks, so a total of 6. I've got 9 stacks, so I would need 4.5 of these. Now I could use a splitter to very easily reach 2 levels at a time, because then the next nursery could just be offset by 2 blocks to feed the next 2. Then right here, this is where the next one could go. And this is already offset by 2 blocks, so I can use this tower again for the next height. And I just need 1 final nursery to get that last bit on top. And this one will only ever run at half capacity. Alright, there we go. So fertilizer can come in here. Fuel can come in there. I end up with soap as the output here. That will be combined with the iron through the copper build. And then black powder can never back up now. Alright, I like this. Now all I need is 4,000 times 9, 36,000 linseed oil up on the 9th floor from Extractors. So I can copy pretty much the same structure here. But instead of having crushers on the sides, I could have nurseries. And the thermal extractor will consume 30 a minute. This is supplying 120. So I could feed 4 extractors off of 1 nursery. So technically across both sides, I could do 3 nurseries. But for the sake of compactness and ease of use, I honestly think just stacking this is easier. I kind of know where the ceiling's gonna be now, so up from here to right there, it's gonna go over, And into the first slot, which I believe is right there. No, right there. Yes, excellent. So that should be everything. The only thing I'm missing is fuel up to this floor, but again, I need the black powder to work before I get fuel up here. But I need this to work before I get black powder to work. So I'm just going to hand feed the furnaces back by the black powder. So here comes the charcoal powder. Excellent. Got the littlest bit of sulfur coming through here now. I forgot a step. Of course I forgot a step. I need to grind up the iron. I also need to grind up the soap. Oh dear. The soap's actually pretty easy to do. I can just put the grinders on the ends of all of these here. Then I'll just put this back in place. And put that back in place. There we go, quick little splice. The iron's not going to be so easy. That works out to be like 45 grinders. So if I take this output of iron and run it through all of these grinders, will be one full belt of iron sand. Let's move this soap a little bit. Okay, so all these grinders here will process the iron. Those grinders there process the soap, and then everything makes their way back into where they belong. And look at all of that beautiful black powder. So I'll make a blueprint for each one of these sections. One for the charcoal, one for the pyrite, one for the soap, and then one for the copper there at the end. I'll leave the extractors out of it, just because that's too variable. It's hard to make an exact extractor build, because I'm just going to keep adding onto that as I need more linseed for some other build, and then if I need more lime water for something else, I can also add on to that. So the extractors will be left out. I'll just make 4 blueprints for this, and all of those will be in my Discord. I'll leave a link in the description, like I always do. I'll do a quick recap of how everything works. This makes the charcoal from wood and fuel. They're at different heights here, so that they can go into the crucibles at the different heights. And then those just path around, if I could get up here. Those come down the center, and then they go out on the 2 sides into the grinders, and then the grinders meet back up in the middle and send everything out on their way. Then we have the pyrite here. This turns pyrite ore into iron and sulfur. The sulfur is ground up on these 3 grinders here and sent over to the black powder. Don't need very much sulfur, but we have a massive byproduct from all of this. That is the iron. And so the soap is only here to get rid of the iron. The iron is ground up, combined with ground up soap, turned into copper, sunk into coins, and then sent back into the treasury. Alternatively, you could also just trash this iron, or potentially turn it into steel, send it to the shop. I just wanted a system that would guarantee iron could never back up without having to rely on any trashing. And then all of the liquids are provided by the extractors up on the 9th floor. Lime water comes in on this pipe here. Linseed oil comes in around down into the blenders here. So this is a neat little build for black powder that can never back up, and I'll be using this to supply all of the floors above with fuel. If I realize I need more fuel later on, it'd be really easy just to double this whole thing. So that's going to be it for this episode. In the next episode, probably going to get into pocket watches. It's been People have been requesting those for a long time, so I think it's time I finally got into those, start dispatching them to the dispatch portal as well. So I hope you learned something. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.